Hello, today is the 12th of September 2024. This is basically part 2 of the video, but this is like a different scenario that happened. So it doesn't necessarily need to be watched in order or together. So the other big thing that happened was Tuesday evening leading into Wednesday. So basically I still wasn't feeling great because of the day before, which is everything I talked about in my last video. And this week I was kind of doubting myself and doubting if I can do this job and if I really want to continue it. And I had a lot of moments in between where I was like, no, I don't want to continue this job. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. It's just too much. I just want to feel free. I just want to be free. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't. But at the same time, I always knew I wanted to be able to do this. I wanted to feel like I can do it and I can manage it, and I wanted to enjoy it and I wanted to have fun because I like teaching and I like kids, and I know that this has such great potential and I wanted it to be fun. But the way it felt this week wasn't fun, and it wasn't great because that is my mental stuff, my own thoughts, my own emotions. So basically, when we came home from work, which we always arrive home around 8:30 or a bit earlier, basically we're very tired, obviously, from the day of work and with the kids, and it's a new job, so it's still very exhausting and stuff. We still have to get used to it. But like every time we came home from work last week and this week, Dad immediately talked to us about something where we had to concentrate and he needed our attention and he needed an answer and we had to think about it, blah, blah, blah. So what he talked about Tuesday evening were the flights to Ireland. And he said a lot of information and it all made sense, and it's like it was great that he found some sort of solution, but at the same time he basically ignored what our boss says, that we should try to figure something else out for the Monday the 18th, so we shouldn't take that day off of work. But Dad was like, well, she has to figure it out, and if these are the best times to fly, then we're going to fly no matter what your boss says. And obviously that is very ignorant, but I also know he wouldn't just book the flights without a proper solution being found for Monday the 18th. But also it's his own pain of people like telling him what to do and not being free as well. Like, it's his own thing. But anyway, I didn't like that he just basically was quite ignorant about that. And also it was just so much information. It was just too much. Like, I felt it drained me a lot and it made me feel very weak because I already had to deal with so many thoughts from like the day before, and that day I already felt very weak and very exhausted and very tired. So basically he right away wanted to know an answer because he wants to book them in the next few days, because the prices are just gonna go up. And I just said, like, I can't like talk about this right now. I can't focus on it right now. I can only hear half the things that you're saying. And then he was like, well, great, that's very kind of you, because of all the work I put into this. It's great that you appreciate that. And I was like, oh my God, it's not that we're not appreciating it. It's just we just came home from work and this is just too much, and I'm just so tired. I can't concentrate on what you're saying. And I don't know when I can go to Ireland. I need to figure out a lot of things before I can just book the flights. He was like, well, yeah, we have to talk about that though. We have to come to a solution. I was like, yeah, we can, but not right now. And basically he just kept pushing that it's so important, blah, blah, blah. And he kept talking about the flights that we could book and whatever. And then really it was so hard for me to concentrate on it and to think about it, and I was just about to burst, and I was like feeling so weak and so drained. And basically I said, you and Amy can book the flights if you already want to, but I don't know when I'm going. I don't know if I can go those dates. I don't know. I need to figure out a lot of things. But what I really wanted was to go to Ireland right now, like right this second. Like I was like, I need to get away from this. It's too much. And it's not like that the outside things are too much, but my mind made it feel so much. It drained me so much. It exhausted me. It was so horrible. Obviously, I wasn't the friendliest. I didn't talk very nice, but what I did at the start, talk friendly. I was like, this is just too much. I can't hear this right now. I can only hear half of what you're saying. And then he reacted very stupidly and very meanly, which I get. He took it very personally, but he didn't have to put me down like that I'm not very appreciative for all the work and oh great, as if I'm not allowed to say that I'm exhausted and I can't listen to this right now. I didn't say we're never going to talk about this, all your work was shit and crap and you should figure something else out. I wasn't ignorant. I didn't say any of that. I just said that right now I can't take it, and that is my right to say that. But the way he reacted was exactly like the past. Blaming me, taking it so personally, saying I'm the bad one. I need to figure it out though, but I need to tell him the answers. I need to say to him that I need to tell him a time when I've got time to listen to him. Like, everything always relies on me, and it's always my fault, as if I'm not allowed to stand up for myself. In the past, he used to even say, like, stop defending yourself, as if I'm not allowed to defend myself. Obviously, I'm allowed to defend myself if someone is hurting me, if I feel like I'm being torn apart. So that just really made me feel more and more powerless. Yeah, I feel like there was more to it, but I can't, for some reason, I can't really remember. I do know that I spoke, or I texted Mario about the situation with our boss, who said that we should try not to take Monday the 18th off. And he just texted back that he understands both sides. He understands her side because he himself owns a school and is a teacher and has to organize all the classes as well. So he gets my boss's side and he also gets my side. But when he kind of went into the side of my boss and explained it more, I was like, oh, no one understands me. No one sees my pain, like not even he does. And it kind of immediately was like, great, no one is actually there for me again, or like I have to deal with it by myself and no one truly sees what it did to me, which I don't really expect. Or like, the thing is, I understood her side as well, our boss's side. Like, I understood it. It was her right to say that. Yeah, that just kind of made my mood sink even more. What I forgot to mention in the last video is that basically the Monday evening when I came home from that day of work and Dad told me his good news about the Thrive program, after that I went for a shower into the bathroom and I heard Amy talking to Dad about our boss's reaction to the flights and taking Monday the 18th off. And I already knew the way he would react, and that's exactly how he reacted. He raised his voice. He was like, oh, she can't tell us what to do, like, you're free people, like, she has to figure it out, it's her school, like, you don't owe her anything, blah blah blah, and so on, which is his own trauma again. But basically I heard that, and because I was so exhausted from everything else, I was in the bathroom and I just looked at my reflection in the mirror and I just started crying, and then I felt so weak and powerless. I just sank to the ground and I sat there just like rocking back and forth and just really sobbing really hard, and again was like, I don't want this job, I don't want to continue it, like I can't do that and stuff. So yeah, that was like the really bad meltdown that day. Anyway, continuing with Tuesday evening then. Yeah, so Mario's kind of reaction, reply, and thing is, I know he is so friendly and he doesn't ever mean to hurt me, and he doesn't mean it in a bad way, and he was just explaining his side, her side, which I understood as well. But for some reason, I guess I just wanted someone to see my side and to see me and understand me, so I don't feel so alone with everything. And I just didn't really get that feeling. And it just kind of disappointed me a bit, which is my own problem. And I know he didn't do anything wrong. I'm not blaming him. But basically, Dad's reaction especially was just so stupid and bad. I went into my room and started crying because, again, I just felt so weak and powerless, and I just went on the phone to Mom to say goodnight to her, and I was like, I don't really want to talk about this. I just want to watch something with Amy and just relax, and it's just all too much, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to handle it. I just hate the way he reacted, and it's so mean and blah blah blah. And she completely respected that, and she was like, Leona, if you can't handle it, then look him in the eyes. And then she was like, oh no, you're not very good at that. But then grab his attention and tell him, Dad, I really just can't listen to this right now. I feel too weak. We can talk about it another time, but just not right now. Say it to him clearly, and then he'll understand. And then I was like, yeah, maybe nowadays, maybe, yeah, in the past he wouldn't, maybe nowadays, but also he still has an answer to everything. So he would say back to me, like he said, oh, but I put so much work into this, or oh, then the flights need to be booked. Why is it always what you want? But I have time right now. Why do we always have to wait until you've got time and you feel like it's the right time and whatever? So it's not that easy to just tell him how you feel, which obviously is my right to do, and to defend myself and help myself. I was kind of scared as well to go out of my room and for him to speak to me again, or to say to me oh, you hurt me, or you shouldn't have said that, or why did you react that way, or start an argument like he always did in the past. My depression once again. Amy and I just watched one episode of H2O, and I just said I want to go to bed earlier today because I'm just so tired and exhausted. Because usually we go just after midnight, but this time I wanted to go just after 11 o'clock. She respected that, she was fine with that, so we did it, we got ready for bed. I said goodnight to Dad, and he said goodnight with, both of us weren't in a great mood, but we said goodnight and it was fine. And then I went to bed, I laid down in bed, and a few minutes later he came upstairs and knocked at my door, and then he came in and sat on my bed. And first he was calm and fine, and he asked why are you going to bed so early? Are you just tired? And then I said, yeah, I just feel really exhausted. And then he was like, yeah, but the best thing you could have done is to just stay up there with Amy and have a laugh and enjoy your time instead of going with what your thoughts are saying and making you feel so down. And then I was like, no, but I was so exhausted, I just had to go to sleep. I really just wanted to go to sleep. And I was looking away from him the whole time, because when he already came into my room and sat down and started talking, I was like, I can't take anymore. I'm gonna break down any minute. I'm so exhausted. I just can't take it. It's just too much. All my thoughts were so horrible, and then the memories and feeling like I can't do and feeling so weak. It's so scary. One of the first sentences he said was also I'm really happy you're starting the Thrive program, because then you'll learn how to deal with all of this. And I asked myself, great, do you want me to start the Thrive program so I won't treat you badly, or so I'll be nicer to you, or I won't react the way I reacted, or so I won't defend myself anymore? Is that why you want me to start it? Another part of my brain was no, that was the dad of my past. He always wanted me to change. He wanted me to work on myself. He wanted me to change so I wouldn't hurt him anymore. A lot of the times anyway. And this time, another part of my brain was like, no, I think he really wants me to just start the Thrive program so I don't struggle this much anymore, so I don't feel so powerless. But at the same time, the way he worded it was exactly like the past, which to me was like, lovely, you just want me to change so I'm a better person for you. That's so selfish. So I hated him and I was furious, and well, I didn't really hate him, but I was very mad at him, and I felt very weak and just wanted him to leave my room. But yeah, I think he might have actually meant it in a nice way, but it just really reminded me of the past, and the way he worded it just wasn't very friendly and made me feel like I wasn't good enough and I should change and I should work on myself and I should do things differently than the way I did it. And he asked, like, okay, so if you want to go to sleep now, do you think tomorrow you're gonna wake up and be in a better mood? And then I was like, I don't know, I hope so. And he was like, you shouldn't say that, you should say, I do know and I will wake up in a better mood, because that's what you will learn in the Thrive program. And I was like, yeah, but I can't guarantee that. Right now I feel like I might not wake up in a great mood. Like, I don't know that, but all I know is that I want to go to sleep. I need to go to sleep. I feel so weak. And then he just shook his head and looked away, kind of as if he was like sighing and annoyed at me, and said, like, yeah, you're gonna know what I mean in a couple of weeks when you start the Thrive program. Again, as if I'm not allowed to feel the way I feel right now, and as if it should be different and I should know what he's saying, and like, oh, in a couple of weeks you won't feel that way anyway, so just, well, whatever. And then I just said, yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks, but right now I don't feel that way. I don't feel great, and I don't know how I'll wake up tomorrow, and you know what that feels like. You know that I can't just guarantee it. You know what I'm like. And then the worst thing he said to me was like, yeah, I could feel the pain you caused me down there in the living room when he was talking to us about the flights. And I basically said, I can't listen to this. I can only hear half of what you're saying, which I didn't purposely just listen to half of what he was saying. My mind was so full, I could literally only listen to half of what he was saying. It was way too much information, and it overwhelmed me, and I felt already so powerless. So I didn't mean it in a bad way, and then he obviously immediately took everything I said so personally, and then in my bedroom came to me and basically said, yeah, I could feel the pain you caused me down there when you said that, like it's not only you who's in pain or something. And that again was exactly like the past. Whenever he was the one mean to me and I was just defending myself, I was just standing up for myself, which is my right, he would immediately turn it that I am the bad person. And honestly, it's so exhausting for me to talk about this. So basically it was exactly like the past, and I immediately in my bed, my thoughts rushed, and I was like, oh my god, was I the bad person there? Did I really hurt him? Did I really do something wrong? Like, why does he think of me that way? I was just trying to explain my side, and I didn't mean it in a bad way, but immediately, like, I'm the bad person and I hurt him, and it's all like my fault and stuff. And my thoughts got really bad and really beat myself up again, and I really got a shock, like, oh my god, is he really taking that so personally? Is this really something I have to explain to him the way I meant it? Is this really happening? Like, is he really thinking of me that way? Did he really get hurt like that? And I was like, oh my god, I hurt him. Like, what did I do? Why did that have to happen? Like, why does he take it that way when I'm just trying to help myself? I just couldn't take it anymore, and why did it have to hurt him? Like, it's like I can't even help myself. I'm not even allowed to stand up for myself without hurting someone else. Like, so bad, and I was just like, I really just have to sleep right now. I can't take this anymore. Or I can't take anymore. I just really want to go to sleep now. And then he respected that and he left my room, and like the way he was talking was different from the past. In the past, he would have put his opinion on me and he wouldn't have let it go that I hurt him and that it was my fault. And he really would have completely believed it. He really would have believed that it was all my fault, that I was the one who was wrong. And he held it against me for months afterwards. And the thing is, in the past, at the start of my depression, when something like this happened and we kind of like just argued had a small argument or both hurt each other, he would like let it go more quickly and would like smile at me again or like hug me and stuff. But then as the months went on and our arguments got worse and it all got worse, he would go like, oh yeah, 7 months ago on this day you said that to me and that was unfair and you should have like blah blah blah, this like it's your fault, you hurt me. And he would have held that against me. So and then I was like, oh my god, so back then when he hugged me or smiled at me, he didn't like just want to move on and like forgive me if he thought I hurt him, or he didn't just like let it go and realize that like things like that happen, we both hurt each other, but instead like behind his smile he still held it against me, and now it's just bursting out. So was the smile fake? Was the hug fake? Was he just smiling at me and hugging at me so I would be nice to him again? Like obviously these are horrible thoughts, like, but when it came to that point where he held things against me that happened months ago, I was like, was that all fake all those months ago? The way he smiled at me and hugged me and I thought it was forgiven and it was forgotten, but no, it wasn't. It was all brought up again and it was worse than it could ever be. And oh my god. But this time the way he talked was actually pretty calm the whole time. It still really seemed like he was blaming me, which I think he was. With other things that he had said, like with the Thrive program, I think he was really trying to just help me, but it didn't really work. And then he obviously respected, thankfully, and left my room, respected me. Which in the past he wouldn't have done. He only would have left when he had said enough, and he would have had drained me so much that I was already crying and lying bleeding on the floor, basically. Emotionally, obviously. Yeah, anyway, he respected me, which again shows how much he changed. And he left my room, and when he left, I cried so hard on my bed, and I saw so many pictures and scenarios, and I had so many thoughts, and I fell into that sort of hole which was completely dark, and I cannot explain how dark it was. It was thoughts like, I don't want to live with myself anymore, I don't want this anymore, I want to get rid of this, I don't want any of these things, like I don't want this job anymore, I can't continue it, and I can't do more work, which Mario offered me some hours in his school as well, and I was like, there's no way I can do that. How is it possible to feel so weak and to feel like I can't do anything and I can't handle it? And like I really can't explain how dark my thoughts were. They reminded me so exactly of my depression. It was really like I was reliving exactly a scenario that I lived through in my depression, a situation, and it was so horrible. And I was sitting on my bed rocking like back and forth, like burying my head in my hands, just crying so hard. I couldn't believe what happened, and I was like, this is so horrible. Am I really getting depressed? Like it's getting so bad. And I really couldn't see anything good, like anything good that I thought about or reminded myself of in my life just wasn't good enough. Like the bad was so much worse that the good just didn't reach as far as the bad did. And I really could barely feel myself anymore. I could barely notice where I was and who I am. I was so scared of it all getting worse and of Dad holding this against me now for so many months and it all just getting worse. Yeah, and in that moment I thought of so many things. Oh my God, I'm so stressed right now, and I really I can't remember it again because right now I have a clear mind. That's why when you have a clear mind you can't even imagine what those situations are like, because in those situations you don't have a clear mind. You're completely lost in your mind. The mind has taken over all the worst things that you could imagine or that are happening, all just come together and they're all there in that moment, and it's all horrible and you don't want to live on like that. You want to escape yourself. And with a clear mind I can barely recall all the things that happened. It's really hard because I have a clear mind. That's why no one on this earth can imagine what a situation like that is like. You only know what it's like once you live it, because when you're in it, you don't have a clear mind. It's like you're just gone and it's everything horrible has taken over. Yeah, so that's why no matter how good I describe it, no one can imagine it. Yeah, and then I thought of various things, for example, how I don't go for a walk every day anymore because there's not a lot of walkways here and there's not a lot of nature, grass and stuff in Ireland. And I was no, I need to go back to Ireland and do my walks again, because they always help me to stay present and stay centered and not lose myself. Or being around Akela always helped me to know I can handle it. Seeing my family, Mom and Alana, who are the happy people in our family, playing games with them, hanging around with them, always helped me. And I was no, I don't have that anymore. I need that, and how can I live without that? And then imagining continuing the teaching job in the school now, and then having more hours in Mario's school, and I was I can't do that. I have to immediately stop everything. And then just what happened there, especially, was obviously pounding in my mind. I can't handle this. I can't do this. What is happening? And how could Dad say that to me? And oh my God, I was thinking about what a horrible person I am and how I hurt him, and I was how can I fix that? I can't fix that. He's gonna hold it against me. He's gonna think of me horribly. No, I don't want anyone to think of me horribly. I don't mean it that way, please. No, I was just trying to defend myself. How could this happen? How could this escalate? Blah blah blah. It was really just so bad. It was escalated to the worst, as if a small situation was so bad, and it felt I couldn't handle it. It felt I couldn't handle the thought that my dad is thinking I hurt him. It was I can't handle that, and I just kept thinking about he thinks I hurt him. He thinks I hurt him. He's thinking of me that way, that I hurt him. And I was I can't handle that. I need to find a solution. How can I fix this? How can I find a solution? I need to find a solution. I can't handle this. No. Yeah, and basically my goal for that day was to make myself smile, because I had noticed that nothing else matters as much as laughing and smiling. And then at the end of the day, when I was crying like that, I was oh my God, I wasn't even able to make myself smile. I didn't manage it, it didn't happen. It's all so horrible. My depression is happening again. This is exactly the same situation. Nothing is helping me. I'm so helpless. I feel so weak. Everything's getting so bad. But then I saw a notification on my phone, and Mario had texted me, and he had texted me something very funny, and I had to laugh. In the middle of me crying and in this breakdown, I giggled, and I was oh my God, I made myself smile. I was smiling. I actually did it. And then I realized the day wasn't over yet. It wasn't over yet, and it was still possible for me to smile. There is still that possibility that you can smile and you can laugh, and it exists. And it's really like therapy. Suddenly my entire body felt lighter again, as if it was lighting up and freer. And I was laughing and just shaking my head, smiling, and I texted Mario and just thanked him for like making me laugh and stuff, and that I really needed it right now. And it was just so lovely. But when I laid down in bed trying to fall asleep, again, it was the normal time that I usually went to sleep, so I didn't actually manage to go to sleep early because Dad came into my room again. At first he didn't respect that I just wanted to sleep, but when I told him again, he left the room and respected it. But first he came into my room, which I had already said I just want to go to sleep, I'm exhausted. But anyway, when I was lying in bed, I looked around my room and I could barely feel it. Like I couldn't even notice I was in my room and what was around me, and it all felt dark and horrible, and I couldn't even feel myself. And when I tried to notice myself, I didn't just notice my presence, that I'm just a human being who is here and who is present, and nothing else, no problems are part of me. They're just something I have to deal with. It was still, when I tried to notice myself, I didn't just notice my presence, I noticed all the horrible things that came with me at the moment. So all the problems that I had, all the thoughts that I had, all of that, I wasn't able to get rid of it. And I tried to remind myself, like, those thoughts, they're only hurting me right now because they're in my head. If the thoughts weren't in my head, no problem would exist. In reality, no problems do exist, and there is an answer to every problem, but none of that helped. The problem was bigger, and I couldn't get rid of it, and it was just in my mind the whole time. And I was like, how I can't live on like this. I can't live like that again. I can't live like this. I can't do it. Like, how horrible everything is. During the night, whenever I was like slightly awake, my thoughts again were like horrible, just depressed, so depressed. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I woke up and I was like, okay, I have this problem to deal with and I'll deal with it. It was like, I woke up and it was as if I was the problem, and it was a problem to live as myself, and it was a struggle to live as myself. And it just waking up and facing that reality that you have this problem that needs solving but feels impossible to solve, and like you're just a horrible person and it's all escalating, everything is so bad. And my dreams were very bad as well, which I remembered then in my depression. I had intense dreams that were always very linked to what I was going through. So for example, this dream, I dreamt that an eagle caught me by the hand and wanted to pull me into the air, which he managed to do, and I knew I was going to be eaten by this eagle. And I feel like the eagle, what's the spiritual sign for an eagle? I don't know, but I feel like the dream was trying to show me, like, an eagle is like power and expansion and things like that, but he was basically eating me up. So basically I didn't want to be myself anymore. I wanted to leave myself, and it felt like something else had the power over me. So the eagle, powerful, expanded, he was bigger than I was. He was having the power over me. He was eating me up, tearing me apart. And then the other dream was that my mom, I think, died or was about to die or something. And that was again as if like my main person who I trust the most, or maybe not trust the most, but like talk to, or who's there for me, or who wants to be there for me. And I was losing her, so I was completely alone, and I had to deal with it alone, and there was no one there who could save me anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then I woke up the next morning, extremely dark thoughts, and again, I didn't have perspective on anything. I didn't have a different perspective. You just imagine that all there is are these problems. That's all that existed for me in that moment. There was nothing else, nothing good, nothing positive, nothing that could help me, no power that I had. I woke up completely like depressed, and not just depressed, with a perspective, but depressed without a perspective. So I was depressed with all of these problems that I had to solve, but I felt so weak that I couldn't solve them, and they were so horrible that I felt like I couldn't handle them, and I was shocked that this is my reality, and I was like, oh my god, my depression is happening again, blah blah blah. And I knew that I wanted to talk to someone about it. I got up out of bed and I went downstairs, and when I met Dad, like, first I thought like I'm a bit afraid to meet him, but then as I walked down the stairs, I actually felt like, no, I could handle it. Whatever he says, it doesn't mean it's true, it's just his perspective, and I know the way I meant it and I didn't mean to hurt him, which means I'm not immediately a bad person. But again, my thoughts were like, maybe I am a bad person, maybe I did mean it in a bad way, maybe I did mean to hurt him, maybe I was unfair, because I noticed he did do a lot of work to find out perfect flights and stuff, and I wasn't very appreciative of it. Like, I said to him basically, I can't listen to this right now, it's too much, instead of being appreciative. But in that moment I just couldn't be, and I didn't mean it in a bad way, I was just saying I can't handle it and we can talk about it another day. So, but again, it was like, maybe I am a bad person, maybe I did mean it in a bad way, maybe he's right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was horrible of me, maybe I hurt him and he didn't actually hurt me, or maybe he didn't mean to hurt me. Okay, yeah, that was what was going on. But when I walked down the stairs, I was like, whatever happens, it's gonna be fine. So I actually gained some sort of power, and when we met, he actually smiled at he smiled at me, he hugged me, he asked me what was going on, if I was feeling better, what the horrible thoughts were about, and that I will learn how to handle that through the Thrive program. So he was being very nice. Again, I was asking myself, is he doing this like he did in the past, where he continued to try and be nice to me, but at some point our arguments got more and more, and he felt more and more that I was hurting him. He felt as though it was my fault more and more, that then he held something that happened 7 months ago against me. So I was like, is this some sort of situation again where he's like kind of pretending like he's not holding it against me, but in reality it is in the back of his mind that I was mean to him and I hurt him. I think he did genuinely want to help me, but at the same time maybe still thought that I hurt him and that I wasn't nice, which I'm not saying that I was nice or that I wasn't nice, like, fine, but I'm saying it was my right to say I'm exhausted, I can't listen to this. So yeah, that was fine. And then I called Mom and I told her this story, and she said to me that the way I'm explaining it shows her that I'm not a bad person and it wasn't wrong of me, that I'm absolutely allowed to say I'm too exhausted, I can't take this. But my OCD thought immediately goes back to the situation that happened, and I'm like, maybe there is something where I was really wrong, and maybe I'm just leaving that out on purpose to show people I'm not the mean person, he is. Or maybe like I'm trying to convince myself I'm not a bad person, but maybe I am. So I really tried to analyze every second of the situation, and like really. And when Mom says, no, you're not a bad person, I want to say like, yeah, true, I'm not. And I feel like I'm not, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I'm not. Maybe I am. Maybe it was all my fault. Maybe Dad is right. Maybe I'm the bad person. Maybe I hurt him and he didn't hurt me. Maybe I was wrong and I should have been more appreciative. Oh my God. And Mom said, Leona, I promise you, you're not gonna get more depressed. And then I was like, but I don't know that. That's what we said in my depression as well. We said it's not gonna get worse, but it did keep getting worse. It got worse and worse until I was gone, until I couldn't handle it anymore, and I wanted to die. And I wanted to escape everything in my world, because absolutely everything in my world was horrible. There was nothing good anymore, and I'm so scared of it to be like that again. And Mom was like, Leona, I'm not gonna let that happen. If it gets worse, I'm coming to Spain. I'm gonna be there for you. And she said to me while I was like crying and sobbing, I was like, Mom, it's so bad. It really is so bad. She was just like, Leona, I'm so sorry. I wish I could be there for you. I wish I was there with you right now. It pains me so much to see how much pain you're in and how bad your own thoughts are to you. But the whole morning I was just saying, this is so bad. The situation that happened, it felt so bad. It felt like it had taken me over, and it really was as if I was one-to-one reliving a situation in the past. I couldn't see a difference anymore. Usually I could see like a couple of things were different nowadays than they were in the past, but this really felt like it was exactly a situation like the past, and it felt like I couldn't handle it. And when I look back on it, it's different from the past. But while I was in it, it felt exactly like the past, and I saw the potential that it could get as bad as it used to be. And I was like, no, I can't. And in the past, I used to carry it all around with me because I wasn't able to handle it. I wasn't able to process it. Now, when I spoke to Mom and I gained more perspective, and Mom said certain things to remind me of like good stuff, and just she put in another perspective into it. And I didn't just have this one perspective of all these problems, but I could see another side. There was more light in me, and I saw again that that's different from the past. For example, I felt better already, which in the past I didn't. Mom was like, and if you're in such situations where you can't help yourself and where there's no light to be seen, all you can do is stay in that situation until the light comes by itself, and it will come because the light exists, and the light will always find you, because darkness cannot stay forever. There's always light, and it will come. So if that's the only thing you can do, to wait for the light and to just stay in that situation, then do that, and know that the light will come. And she kept saying to me as well, you can handle it, Leona. Even if it feels like you can handle it. And with the Thrive program, you will learn how to handle all of this. And that was my biggest hope, my biggest wish, because at the moment it feels like I absolutely can't handle barely anything, and it feels like if one small thing were to happen, it would escalate so much inside my brain that I would feel so powerless immediately and feel like I'm gone. The thing is, I want to be able to handle it. I want to feel like no matter what I do in my life, if I continue this teaching job, blah blah blah, that I will be able to handle it and I can enjoy it. At the moment, it feels like at some point I will want to leave that teaching job and not do it at all anymore. But I hope with the Thrive program, it will teach me very, very soon that I can continue the job. I can live in Spain, even if there's not a lot of nature around me, and I can still be balanced and grounded and feel like I can handle it, even if I don't have Akela right beside me. Like, I want to be able to handle it, and I saw the potential that no matter what happens, like, first of all, it's all my thoughts that are making it bad and that are making me feel like I can't handle it. And once I managed them, I saw the potential, how I can enjoy everything. I can have a lovely life here. But again, in that situation, it wasn't like that. And yeah, Mom gave me just various tips, but I already said the biggest things that helped me. And it was just really helpful to talk to her, because then I gained perspective in my own way by just letting it out and not it all being in my mind and just being so horrible. But it's as if now it's like written on a sheet of paper. It's in front of me instead of in me. It's in front of me, so I can see the problem instead of being the problem and having the problem. And Mom was just very compassionate and very supportive, and a big thing I am practicing whenever I have problems is to listen to the silence. There's always silence, no matter how many noises there are. There's always silence, because we can only hear noise through silence existing. If silence didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to notice noise. And there's always silence behind every single noise, behind everything. Silence is right here, it's in the air, it's right here, right now, every second of every day. And if you listen to the silence, you notice that at the bottom line, there are no problems. Problems are noise. Behind problems, there is silence. There is a blank, empty sheet of paper, and there's nothing wrong. It's all peaceful. It's beautiful. And so whenever something gets too overwhelming or my thoughts get too bad, I listen to the silence, which is something I learned from Saima. It was as if her voice was speaking to me in my mind, saying, listen to the silence. And her voice said that to me when we had to move out of Granny and Granddad's house. And at that time, I didn't want to listen to what her voice was saying to me. I was like, no, the problems are too bad. I can't listen to the silence. I don't want to listen to the silence. I want to stay living here. I want to solve these problems that we have because I can't lose my home. I can't, blah, 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 which I made a video about as well back then. But anyway, it really does help because silence is the truth. All noise, problems again, which are noise, which are thoughts, they come out of the silence. So silence is underneath. Silence is truth. Silence is peace. Silence is what we want to go back to. We want silence inside ourselves, which to me is a different word to peace. We want silence in our minds. And because silence is always there is a solution to every problem, and problems can go away. And problems aren't the real thing. They're not the main thing. Anyway, after talking to Mom, for some reason, there was so much more light in my body and in my mind, and such a much broader and nicer perspective. And I felt so much better already. Yeah, when we went to work yesterday, I was just so distracted, and the work day was lovely. The classes we had were like lovely. Wednesday's definitely my favorite day, and I was just in a very good mood after that. And yeah, I need to learn how to deal with all of this. I want to learn how to deal with it. That even if I did something wrong, even if I hurt Dad, I want to learn that it's okay, I'm just human. I'm allowed to make mistakes. It doesn't immediately make me the worst and most horrible person on earth. It doesn't immediately mean that everyone on the whole earth is gonna say and think of me as a bad person. And it doesn't mean immediately that I actually am for a fact a bad person. It just means that was his perspective. But the thing that I'm really afraid of is that he sees it that way, and that's why it's all going to get worse and worse, and we're going to argue so much, and our relationship is going to break apart, and it's going to feel unbearable, and it like so horrible, like it did in the past. Like, I'm more afraid of something happening that I'm not able to handle than being seen as a bad person, I think. Like, that he's going to judge me the whole time. But again, yeah, that is him seeing me as a bad person, which I guess that's one of the bigger fears then. He's going to judge me and have arguments with me and conversations with me about how horrible I am and what I should change, which is in the past. And that's what Mom also said, and that's the big thing that helped me, which is Mom said, because I was explaining to her, like, everything is just linked to my depression, everything horrible that happens. It's like, it was just so traumatizing. I can't explain to anyone how horrible it was. It was as if everything horrible that could have ever happened to me happened during that time. It was like extended to its most, and it couldn't get worse than that. And Mom was like, yeah, it's kind of like Jesus on the cross. Like, obviously I'm not like Jesus on the cross, like, obviously, but it's like as if it couldn't get worse than that, and it feels unbearable and so horrible. But still, Jesus's message is that Sunday is coming, so freedom is coming, the light is coming, and you can do it. Just keep waiting for Sunday, keep reaching for Sunday. Sunday is coming, it will come. It will come, there's no doubt about that. So that was one thing. And then the other thing about my depression, she said that, yeah, Leona, in your depression, you were basically living a trauma in a trauma. like your entire depression was a trauma, and it was linked to all like your childhood traumas as well, and it was like happening again. Your childhood traumas were happening again in your depression. Even more happened, and you were so traumatized by everything that happened. And then in that traumatization of traumatizations, you had another traumatization because you were like, you are a child, so you rely on your parents, for example, to be there for you, to understand you, and to hug you and give you support. But instead of that happening, your dad, for example, he didn't help you with what you were going through, but he made it worse. Even though he might have wanted to help me, which at the start I think he did help me, but because I kept feeling misunderstood and so on, and I kept saying like no one is there for me, no one understands me, because that's the way I felt, I hurt him, which I know I did. But like he made everything worse instead of helping me and supporting me. So mom was like, so everything that you thought could have helped you or should help you, like your parents, for example, you lost all of that. So everything that you thought could help you, you lost. So you lost the relationship to your dad at some point. You lost the trust in him that he would help you, that he would be there for you. You as a child, all you need and want, which is your right to receive as a child, is support and love from your parents and not being pulled down. He did the worst thing he could have done to me. Like, I'm just imagining if he would have just been there for me, just accepted me the way I was with all the struggles, and if he would have known that I'm not a bad person and I don't want to hurt him, everything could have worked out so differently. And yes, maybe I could have worked harder on it, maybe I could have been better, but I tried my best, and I was a child and I was the one depressed. I couldn't help myself. I couldn't do it any differently. And yes, dad already had OCD back then. He already had his illness, his mental illness. So yes, he did so many things because he didn't know how to do it any differently, because he was ill and he thought it was the right way, which obviously was not the right way. It was absolutely horrible. But for mom to say that and to acknowledge it after so many years as well, to acknowledge it that way, that everything I thought that could have helped me and should have helped me, I lost. And for her to say it that way gave me a different perspective, and I was like, yeah, I've never actually seen it that way, but it's so true. No matter what I can think of, and I thought that would help me, it didn't help me. I lost it, and I couldn't help myself, and I was absolutely powerless. Every single thing that I thought would help me, I lost, and it didn't help me. And my parents, like losing them, or them not helping me or pulling me down even more, or not supporting me and just accepting me for me and telling me how to change and whatever, that was obviously the big traumatization and the big thing that I lost, which as a child you rely on your parents. You think your parents are there for you, they support you, they love you no matter what. And it just wasn't like that in my depression. They didn't. They gave me conditional love and not unconditional love. And nowadays they're working so much on themselves and they're learning so much, and they have changed immensely compared to my depression. And that's kind of what's giving me hope, that even if I fall back into such a depression, which I used to be in, I think that my parents will be able to handle it differently because they changed. And they're obviously not in a depression while I am, so that's why they will be able to help me. In my depression, I couldn't help myself. I was relying on other people to help me. I was relying on my parents to help me, but they didn't. Mom sometimes did, but dad, like 99% of the time, made everything worse. Especially when I fell deep into the depression and my entire perspective was lost, and all that there was these problems and the horribleness. And that's why I couldn't help myself, because I didn't have another perspective. I was the problems. I was the horribleness. That's why I wanted to escape myself. There was no distance between us. I was that. Nowadays, I know I am not that. Even though Tuesday night, it felt again as if I am the problem, then there's no distance between us. And I need to escape myself. I want to escape myself. I can't live like that with myself. That's that. That's how horrible it was. That's how absolutely insane it was, and hope so much that the Thrive program will help me to handle everything, to feel like I can handle everything. And I know that it can help me with it. I know that the Thrive program can teach me that, because so many people have learned that through the Thrive program. So many people are living their best life. And the thing is, I know it's possible to live like that, to live so free and happy, because I did after my depression. But when you are in the depression, you can't see that. It's as if that isn't even a possibility. It's as if that doesn't exist, because it doesn't in that moment. Nothing good exists. So it's like, that's not even a possibility. It's not even possible to get better in those moments, if it feels like that. So yeah, I really hope the Thrive program can help me to thrive, to be happy, and to never lose that, to always feel like I can do it, and no matter what I do in life, I can handle it, and it's gonna be great. I can just live the best life. Yeah, okay. Thanks for watching. Take care, and until the next time. Bye. Also, I was crying about and telling Mom how I pray every evening, but that evening when I was crying like that, I didn't feel like praying at all, and I didn't pray because I was like, I don't feel them near me anyway. I don't feel them protecting me. I don't want to pray. I don't believe in that anymore. And it wasn't as strong as my depression where I really gave up my belief, but that just this evening I just felt like so weak and powerless. I was like, nothing can help me anyway, and I was like not bothered to pray. And yeah, I was crying on the phone to Mom saying how I didn't even pray that evening and stuff, and that just shows that it's very bad, because I would never not pray unless it's really bad.